Great. So good evening. This is the Rotary E-Club of District 7710. I'm happy to introduce our speaker this evening. In 2015, as a Rotary Peace Fellow, Dr. Tekleab Mekbib completed a postgraduate study in the Department of Maternal and Child Health, Global School of Public Health, University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Tekleab holds an MD and a specialty in obstetrics and gynecology. He is currently working as a postdoctoral research associate at the World Health Organization Collaborative Center at Chapel Hill. His research interest includes implementation challenges, improving access and quality of service in maternal and child health, as well as family planning programs. In Ethiopia, he served as a senior obstetrician and gynecologist and has over 25 years experience in service delivery and public health. He developed and managed research and programs related to maternal and child health, adolescence, gender, HIV/AIDS, and reproductive health. He gave technical direction and management oversight for programs and research development in Ethiopia for the public and NGO sectors. As a result, he was able to guide policy change in the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Youth, and the Ethiopian Orthodox Church through the development of the Reproductive Health Strategy, the Adolescent Girls Empowerment, and the Developmental Bible programs, respectively. He authored over 30 journal articles and reports. Dr. Tekleab Mekbib was the editor-in-chief of the Ethiopian Journal of Reproductive Health from 2007 to 2013. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you for the kind introduction. Shall I continue?
Yes, please.
Yeah, as you can see, the title of my presentation is the Developmental Bible Program, Integrating HIV and Other Reproductive Health Information in the Teachings of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. Can I have the second slide? Thank you. The outline of my presentation, as you can see, is described in the slide. I'll give background information about the church, its infrastructure, manpower, and the problem of reproductive health situation in the country, the goals and objectives of the program, and the creation of the Developmental Bible resource or manual, which is central for the program. I will talk about the research components that helped us measure the impact of the intervention. I'll talk about the results of this intervention. I'll talk about the challenges and the limitation of this intervention. And then finally, the conclusion and some recommendations. Next slide, please. The Ethiopian Orthodox Church has been a religion of the state for over centuries, since the 4th century AD until the Ethiopian Revolution of 1974, just before a communist government, a military government took over. 44% of the population of Ethiopia are followers of Orthodox Christianity. It is the only traditional provider of education, and people of my age are the products of this activity. And after finishing my church education, I joined the formal school. It serves as the only institutional contact in many rural areas of the country. If you go to such kind of rural areas, you don't get often schools or police station, but you definitely will find a church where people come together every week or in any religious holidays. So it is a point of contact for the rural population. The values and norms of the church are closely tied with cultural and historical life of the people. And as a result, the clergy enjoy great respect and credibility. They have a lot of credibility among community members. And hence, they are the opinion leaders of communities. Next slide, please. When you look at the infrastructure and manpower of the church, it's very huge. There are 45,000 churches and monasteries with over 500,000 clergy members. Under these areas, you could get close to 18,000 health facilities. There are 28 clergy training centers and 3 theological colleges. You have 65 archbishops, 50 dioceses, and over 485 church councils. In every church, you get Sunday schools, and there is an estimated of over 10 million members in these schools. Women church association members are estimated to be over 12 million. Orthodox Christians in Amhara and Tigray regions are estimated to be 98% of the total population. And the current leadership of the church is proactive in social change and development. Can I have the second slide, please? When we look into the problem, the health problem of the population, in 2 different surveys that were conducted in 2005 and 2011, respectively, the HIV adult prevalence was 1.4% and 1.5%. The share of women and men is, for men is almost 1%, for women is double of that. And this has been also confirmed in the second survey that was done in 2011. The Ethiopian Demographic Health Survey. There is a lot of harmful traditional practices being conducted in majority of places in Ethiopia. Early marriage is a serious problem. If you look at the 2 DHS 2005-2011, marriage of women aged 25, the median age of marriage of women of age 25 to 49 is 16 and 60.5 years respectively. So you can imagine how early marriage is really dominated in those places. And 70% of women experience female genital mutilation in Ethiopia. This is a 2005 Ethiopian Demographic Health Survey, but now there is some decline in this indicator. There is still low status of women in Ethiopia. There is gender inequality and less decision-making power of women. Next slide. The reproductive situation is still not improving a lot. The maternal mortality ratio is 673 per 100,000 live births. Every year, over 25,000 women die due to pregnancy and childbirth complications. And an estimated of 90 to 94% of women deliver at home. So skilled delivery is practically absent for the majority of the population of women. 7% of women receive antenatal care and only 6% receive postnatal care. Next slide. Religion does matter in our country and in some other African countries. And it can influence HIV prevention, gender, and reproductive situations. And religious institutions have the means and methods of reaching out majority of the population. And particularly the Ethiopian Orthodox Church has a highly structured system that could be used to transform communities for social development. Next slide, please. What is the rationale of working with the UAC? Its rich and wide network, untapped massive human and social capital, high credibility and acceptance. 94% of young people regularly visit faith institutions rather than youth centers. EOC, or the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, has a 5-year strategic plan for HIV prevention and control. And finally, the commitment of the church to work with development partners and key stakeholders. Next slide, please. What are the goals and objectives of the program? To integrate HIV and other reproductive information, such as early marriage, female genital mutilation, abduction, among others, in the teaching of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. The objectives include to strengthen and build the capacity of the clergy training centers and theology colleges, to integrate the Developmental Bible resource in the curricula of training institution of the church, and this definitely will ensure its sustainability, and conduct regular training of priests on the Developmental Bible resource, and provide this resource material as a reference to graduates after training. Next slide. When you define the Developmental Bible program, it's an innovative way to engage the church in health and social development. It serves as a tool to mainstream HIV prevention, gender, and reproductive issues into the day-to-day teachings of the church. It serves also as a guide for priests and preachers to address main health challenges facing the young people and women. It also serves to strengthen the lectionary practice of the clergy and to incorporate developmental Bible or the gospel into the curriculum of training institution of the church. Next slide. The strategies include to formulate the Developmental Bible resource by selected scholars of the church and get the blessing of His Holiness Abuna Paulus, the then Patriarch of the Church, to provide the necessary teaching aids and materials after needs assessment of the teaching institution of the church, and finally to pass key developmental messages by trained priests to congregation members. Next slide, please. The implementation process had a number of phases, and among them, a lot of meetings, exchange of ideas took place to define the initial concept of the proposal and to get the buy-in of senior church leaders and the Holy Synod and to build trust among key stakeholders. One of the major activities was conduction of Bishop rallies to promote the idea of the Developmental Bible and the issues it teaches to a lot of community members and in those regions of the country. Training were conducted involving priests, diocese administrators, Sunday school teachers, and women association heads. Computers and other training materials were distributed to training centers to strengthen their capacity. We incorporated a research activity, a simple research activity. We conducted a baseline before the intervention started and an inline in the middle of the intervention, an inline survey, just to measure the impact or the results of our intervention. Next slide, please. The first activity was to formulate a working group that composed of the church people, population council, and the United Nations agency that's called UNAP, and establishment of a core group, selected scholars. 6 of them were assigned to draft the Developmental Bible resource. So for this selected group, a training was organized so that they know the modern concepts of HIV prevention, gender, and overall reproductive issues. Selection of key messages were conducted, and at the same time, these messages were peer-reviewed for their appropriateness, timeliness, and substance, so that nothing goes against the teaching of the church. This is incorporating developmental issues into the teachings of the church. So that part of the church teachings is a dogma. It will not be altered. The Bible cannot be altered, but the developmental issues are inserted in such a way, inserted in the day's teachings in such a way that the scholars are the ones who are very knowledgeable in dealing with these types of issues. There was a wider consultation, and a lot of feedback was collected, and finally the final product was published and the program was launched. Next slide, please. How was this program created? The church teachings are guided by a calendar or lexicon of the church that is called Matzaf Gitzawi. This is from the ancient language of the church, which is called Ge'ez. So this thing was functional from the 4th century AD. They have been using it. Quotations from the Bible on everyday basis for 365 days are in this Matzaf Gitzawi. So preachers, church leaders know the day and the type of, or the theme of that particular day to discuss with their congregations. We requested the church leader to incorporate worldly or developmental types of issues that are very pertinent to the people or to their followers. So they agreed to incorporate health issues, reproductive issues, HIV/AIDS prevention issues, women issues into the teaching of the church. Senior scholars of the church were designated to prepare the manual, and this manual, which is called the Developmental Bible resource, incorporates the developmental issues such as HIV/AIDS, reproductive health, harmful traditional practices, gender equality, and other important health issues. Next slide, please. A total of 45 key messages were incorporated in the Developmental Bible manual. HIV/AIDS, promote abstinence, faithfulness, and encourage premarital voluntary counseling and testing, early marriage issues, female genital mutilation issues, abduction issues, pregnancy issues, birth, fistula, and other pregnancy-related health matters. About adolescents and their problems, youth development issues, gender equality, status of women, rights of women. Next, please. Next slide. This picture is His Grace Abuna Gabriel, Archbishop, chairperson of the Developmental Bible core group. He was the one chairing the regular meetings that were taking place, and which I also participated. Next slide, please. This is the former patriarch of the church launching the Developmental Bible program at the Hilton Hotel, Addis Ababa. Next slide, please. This is me meeting His Holiness Abuna Paulus before the launching of the Developmental Bible program. Next slide, please. Me introducing the UNFPA representative to His Holiness, Abner Paulos, Patriarch. Dr. Bumi Makinwa was the one funding the project, and he was representing the UNFPA during the launch. Next slide, please. These are archbishops who participated during the launching at the Hilton Hotel, Addis Ababa. Next slide, please. These are the 2 volumes produced by the scholars of the church. The first volume includes all key messages for 365 days. The second, smaller size volume includes only the Sunday readings. That is for 52, 55 weeks of the year. Next slide, please. We used descriptive analysis to measure changes for select parameters. As I said earlier, a baseline individualized survey were conducted. In both surveys, similar sample selection and data collection techniques were employed. The indicators were HIV knowledge, modes of HIV transmission, methods of HIV prevention, stigma, and discrimination. Next slide, please. This is just to give you some idea about the characteristics of the respondents, their socio-demographic profile. So 3 groups of respondents are here involved, priests, young people, and women. Their age, their marital status, and education level is indicated here. Next slide, please. The description of the topics is depicted in this slide. As you can see, HIV/AIDS has taken the lion's share. It's 60% of the time, priests, while teaching or educating their congregation, has been talking about HIV/AIDS issues. Harmful traditional practices that have been talked about for 28% of the time. Gender-based violence, wife beating, and women's status issues were only 12% of the time. Next slide, please. From here, you could see that the bar graph shows that the baseline is the blue bar. The red ones are the inline. So 2 or more methods of preventing HIV, as you can see, the blue line is lower and the red one is high. So you could see that there's a lot of improvements, and these are statistically significant in priests, in young people, and among women. Next slide. Attitude towards people living with HIV/AIDS. Again, the same color is for the baseline, and red color is for the end line. You could see that there is a lot of improvement in both cases. Baseline, it is less, at end line, it has grown high. So there is a reduction in stigma and discrimination. So respondents have developed a positive attitude towards people living with HIV/AIDS. Next slide, please. Well, in summary, the research component shows that when you look at the indicators we studied, all of them are significantly improved, except in women with regard to HIV prevention methods. And we think that the contact time with women that the priests had may be less, and this has to be improved in the future activities. When HIV test was conducted, priests were not asked to do that. But with regard to behavioral change, both young people and women showed a significant improvement. The same thing goes to harmful traditional practice. All three groups have a different opinion now with regard to harmful traditional practices. Priests have stopped blessing early marriages. They were invited into the rural areas. Their opinion leaders are invited without their presence. There's no wedding taking place. Now, if they find out that a girl of 12, a girl of 9 or 10 is going to get married, they'll say, no, I'm not coming, I'm not blessing this marriage. So people are forced to abandon the idea of sending their daughters for marriage to an adult person. Next slide, please. What are the challenges and the opportunities we learned in this intervention? The limitation of the study was that the intervention was only for 7 months. There was a pressure from the donor that we have to keep the timeline, so we have to conduct an in-line survey on the 7th month of the implementation. In spite of that, you could see the trend that there is a lot of improvement in the number of parameters that we studied. But still, the intensity and the scale was lacking in the implementation process. Had it been after 2 or 3 years, you could have seen a dramatic change in most of the indicators. HIV-related topics were given more time, resulting in positive changes in knowledge, attitude, and behavior. The opportunities were, cost effectiveness and sustainability has been demonstrated because integration of the Developmental Bible resource in the training institution of the church in their curricula is sustainable, because if the project fades out, the material is there and the teachers continue teaching the clergy based on the curriculum. So we're happy that we have ensured sustainability of this program. The other opportunity is, these types of interventions, these types of approaches we have to reach out other faith-based organizations like Muslims, Protestants, and Catholic followers with a similar type of messages, but working with them is very important. And here I could say that since Rotary is devoting their money, time, manpower, I think these types of approaches could be also utilized to promote elimination of polio. The clergy and the imams of the Muslims are key people who could easily convince the population that are followers of their church or their Muslim faith. Next slide, please. The recommendations could be future revisions of the Developmental Bible should consider balancing topical composition. We have to look into time and space. When this program was designed, HIV/AIDS was a very serious problem, but now it's on the decline. Therefore, other issues are emerging. Therefore, it has to be dynamic. It has to be all the time changed, looking into the issues at hand. Potentially expand the time to developmental messages and proportional presentation of development and the Bible. Here, what I meant was Bible is the key theological messages, but the development, the health, and worldly issues have to be somehow balanced so that we could have enough time for pressing issues so that they will be addressed by followers of each phase. We could add other pertinent developmental issues such as youth involvement and other hot issues that affect the reproductive health of women, children, and men, so that these types of innovative ways could be tapped so that conventional approach, if it's not yielding results, these types of innovative approach could be tried and are more effective compared to other routine types of approaches. Expansion of the rest of to the rest of the regions, scaling up these types of model projects or programs is definitely advisable, and documentation and dissemination of the findings is a very important step in sharing and promoting these types of innovative approaches in public health and in faith-based institutions. Thank you for your listening. Jenny?
Wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And